Now, keep in mind, we started the network back in 2018, and this was at the emergence of the deepfake, if you will. And I looked at deepfakes really quite, maybe not quite differently than everybody else, but certainly differently than mass media. I didn't see them as a threat at all. I saw them as a friend. You know, you're looking at CGI graphics and effects in movies all the time. I mean, you can bring back Princess Leia, and now you've got Tom Cruise deepfake and Mark Zuckerberg deepfake. Well, that's a very interesting media play. In essence, you've got, you know, that happening. But what if you were to use that same technology, for a positive message, promoting adoption of an evolutionary culture that we haven't seen before, and putting it in a context that can deliver information in a way that's accurate and credible.
Synthedia.
Marc Scarpa, welcome to Synthedia 2. Glad to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm really appreciative.
All right. So I think we should start out with you giving just a really quick overview of DeFiance Media.
Sure. So DeFiance Media is a 24-hour linear global broadcast channel that focuses on alternative finance, culture, and technology.
Okay. Very simple. How does it manifest itself? So you've got a website, you have a lot of video. Tell me a little bit about the portfolio that you put together.
Well, we're a TV network first. We stream live to fast TV delivery, CTV, OTA over the air, and various other OTT platforms to over 100 countries around the world. Our primary distribution is United States, and we have a nice stronghold in, in the UK, Middle East, as well as Spain. So primarily, we're on that linear output. We have AVOD support for FAST and CTV, and we do have an enhanced broadcast experience on both desktop and mobile. And with the enhanced broadcast experience, you can find curated news from the top publishers out there that really align with our brand and our messaging, as well as the top 100 influencers for the categories that we cover. There's market data, market research, trading features, and of course our extensive library of video programming.
Okay, so you've been in the media industry for a long time and in different roles, different facets, entertainment as well. So you've seen a lot of aspects of this. When you were developing your plan for DeFiance Media and launching it, at that time, were you thinking about synthetic media, or is this something that came up more recently?
Always been thinking about synthetic media. You see, when you're looking to start a global news network, there's a couple of inherent challenges, especially if it's broadcast. One is, how do you, have a distinctive brand and voice that resonates with an audience that's very specific, which we have done, and we're in the process of growing. And then there's the other problem of, how do you actually execute that? Most television networks, news networks that get off the ground, they're creating very expensive studios, and this is of course for live linear. They're creating very expensive studios. They have a lot of overhead, and so on and so forth. So we always really looked at it from the sense of, well, how can we do this in a way that resonates with our audience, resonates with our brand, but also will get the information out, be entertaining and cost effective. Now, keep in mind, we started the network back in 2018, and this was at the emergence of the deepfake, if you will. And I looked at deepfakes really quite, maybe not quite differently than everybody else, but certainly differently than mass media. I didn't see them as a threat at all. I saw them as a friend. You're looking at CGI graphics and effects in movies all the time. I mean, you can bring back Princess Leia, and now you've got Tom Cruise deepfake and Mark Zuckerberg deepfake. Well, that's a very interesting media play. In essence, you've got that happening. But what if you were to use that same technology, for a positive message, promoting adoption of an evolutionary culture that we haven't seen before, and putting it in a context that can deliver information in a way that's accurate and credible. And hence, we then went on a journey looking for who could solve that, first part of the problem, which is the creation of, of the virtual human, so that we can have the world's first virtual news anchor. So we're the only broadcast network in the world that I'm aware of that actually has a virtual human as a virtual news anchor. And we were able to get introduced to Hour One through their investment group, Galaxy. Sam Engelbart out of New York, I've known for some time, and he was gracious enough to make that introduction, because we were just talking about it actually down in Miami at an event, and I kept discussing that I was looking for this type of technology. And he says, well, we have a company like that in our portfolio. They're currently using the technology for customer service solutions, which made a lot of sense. But met them, they're out of Israel, and they're terrific. And so we then, in essence, appropriated their technology for our needs. And subsequently, since then, I think it's opened up a whole new market for them. And it's been a really great collaboration. I'm very pleased with it, and appreciative that it's been working out.
All right. And I think your virtual news anchor's name is Roxanna. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. So she is... that was another consideration, male, female. And then, of course, what does she look like? Roxanna is a real person. It's based upon an actual model that we knew and we had cast. But there was a deeper ideology behind Roxanna as an entity, if you will, as a being. We looked at some research reports from Singularity Institute and some other, writings that talked about the concept of what the future human would look like. And the future human, since we have a lot more travel than we did, a millennia ago or even 100 years ago, there's a lot more diversity that's happening, which is fantastic. There's a lot more interracial marriages and hence births, interracial breeding, if you will, just to keep it simple. So it's really the way that the genetics will work eventually in hundreds of years, is that we're looking at basically a global population that looks Eurasian. So we found somebody like that, and she's great. She did a wonderful job on the capture. And so now we have that digital likeness that we can use as a virtual news anchor for our purposes.
Okay, great. Well, let's meet her.
Okay, there you go.
In artificial intelligence news, Lensa AI's popularity has had a notable impact on the App Store's top charts. The popular photo and video editing app recently went viral over its new Magic Avatars feature, powered by the open-source Stable Diffusion model, allowing users to turn their selfies into styled portraits of themselves as science fiction, anime, or fantasy characters, among other artistic renderings. Consumer demand for the app, and for AI edits more broadly, has now pushed numerous other AI apps into the US App Store's top charts. As of Monday, the top 3 spots on the US App Store are all held by AI photo editors, and even more AI art apps are newly ranking in the top 100. The number 1 spot on the US App Store continues to be held by Lensa AI.
When you see that live on broadcast TV, it comes out at you, because there she is, she's talking. And there's some other segments, I think I sent you another one, where she's a little bit more, appears a little bit longer in terms of screen time. But there's a couple of things going on there. You have the virtual human, you have a artificial voice. In real life, she doesn't speak, Queen's good English, if you will. And so those pieces are written and then put together by our editorial team. And then we go and actually edit the pieces. Because we're a nationally accredited member of the media, a member of the National Press Club, and a Getty editorial partner, we're able to source a lot of B-roll and assets that will help build those storage packages. This is very much the same than any kind of local or national news agency would do. The only omission is, an actual human to read the teleprompter, in essence, to report on the story package. And in this essence, it's Roxanna, the virtual human.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and we can show the other clip. I have it right here. You know what I might need to do? There we go.
In blockchain
How's
news,
that?
a class action lawsuit contends that stakeholders in Yuga Labs, the parent company of NFT series Bored Ape Yacht Club and its affiliated digital products, engaged in a conspiracy with celebrities to defraud potential investors. In the complaint, filed December 8 in Federal District Court in LA, Yuga partners, including veteran music manager Guy Ozieri, are named among the 37 defendants, who include Kevin Hart, Gwyneth Paltrow, Madonna, Justin Bieber, Serena Williams, Jimmy Fallon, Paris Hilton, Snoop Dogg, The Weeknd, Post Malone, and NBA star Steph Curry. Also named is Amy Wu, who recently exited troubled cryptocurrency exchange FTX and served as a consultant and board member of the Ape DAO. The lawsuit seeks monetary damages of at least $5 million on behalf of the plaintiffs and the putative class of all others similarly situated.
Okay, so really like that. Let me ask you a question. So there we just heard Roxanna, the first one we saw her. How many episodes have you done with Roxanna, your virtual human newscaster?
Yeah, obviously both episodes you saw and heard her. And when you see her, that's actually the hour one rendition of her. We had to capture her for an entire day, and the audio voice is done by a selection of voices that we're able to pick through their platform. And that's a process in itself, to find the right voice, the right tone, the right inclinations, and then being able to write, and in essence, create a character that will resonate with the audience. And of course, all the other wrappers and packages and workflow there. She has done, we're putting out news reports every day. So it's been about a little over a year. So we are doing daily news, DeFiance Daily. So it's been well over 250 news reports, 250 days. I think it's been closer to 350, 400 days. And within that, we do about 4 to 5 reports a day. So we're about 1,600 to 2,000 packages have been created using a virtual news anchor. Yeah. That's a lot. Now I think about it.
Right. I mean, that's why I asked the question. I think it's really interesting. So if you've done that many, first of all, you must have learned a lot. What have you learned?
I think that what's the most important thing is, you can go and start with a stock character, which is something that we did, but ultimately we chose to create our own. And that was a huge shift. Our engagement increased, our, just the resonance with our brand in terms of look and feel and what we were going for. It really changed things. So I highly recommend that people create their own avatars, if you will, our own virtual humans, as we like to call them. So not truly avatars per se, but the other thing is, you really need to teach it how to talk, and it needs to have a personality. As you can tell, she's saying certain things in certain pieces that we're making commentary about the piece, and giving her a little bit more of a personality and a life is really critical. If you don't do that, then it's just in essence, a robot on stage reading a teleprompter. Even in normal news reports, that is normally the case, but after the segment is over, they'll turn to their co-host or co-anchor and say, "Oh my gosh, that was pretty amazing, those dogs jumping through the hoops," right? So it just depends on what the segment is, and we try to give her a little bit more personality here and there as we go along. We find that really resonates with an audience. And there's just a bunch of technology workflow items that we've learned over time that are very important. I think some of them are kind of obvious. Sometimes you have to write your scripts phonetically, or certain words phonetically, as opposed to just writing it straight out. And that's a little give and play in order to have a really good just experience for the end user at the end of the day. So it makes sense. But I think that their platform is getting better, and it's one piece of the puzzle in how we create these packages. It's not just type in a script, get a virtual human, and put it out there. There's a lot more depth to it than that, as you can see, and that's the same in any virtual, although that's the same in any news report that you would get it on any news network. I mean, there's a lot of people behind the creation of the news that you don't see, and there's really nothing different from that perspective going on here, except that it's a lot fewer people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so you talk about as many as 5 segments a day with Roxanna. Would you be able to get that much productivity out of a human?
Well, I mean, with a human, you have, of course, a limited time frame in terms of the hours that they work. I mean, the reality is we could crank out 100 segments a day of Roxanna. The other thing that's important is with Roxanna, we can create those same exact news segments that you just saw, but in up to, I think it's 40, 50, 60 different languages. So that's a huge advantage. We're able to take that news segment and syndicate it through Spanish markets, Asian, Middle Eastern, and so on. So it resonates with that audience because the voiceover is in that language. You really can't do that with a human.
Right.
So there's a use case where there's no way you can do it. I always make the joke that she's kind of competing in terms of getting things done, similarly to what's his name, the host of Entertainment Networks. I forget, I've worked with him. He's a great guy. And it's one of those things of he's probably the hardest working man in television, but it's like because he's cranking out packages all day long, but she can crank out packages 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in 80 different languages. There's just no way to compete with that type of scale capability. So we think that we're doubling down in 2023 on that, and potentially we're introducing even more characters. We have another virtual human character called Ian Beecraft, who does our futurist reports every Friday. So she has a co-host, if you will, not a co-host on the daily news, but every week Ian's doing his futurist report, and they're awesome because if you see, she's in a particular style newsroom set that we worked with Hour One to design. So that's proprietary to us, and we really work through it with them. Then Ian has a completely he has an environment that extends that set, but the way that he's creating those packages is a little bit different, and that resonates with the type of story package that it is, right? So now, we could potentially add, because our focus is really 10 different subjects on the network, from blockchain and digital currency, and artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, social impact, regenerative culture, artificial, connected living, and so on, biotech, alternative energy, and so on. We could literally have a Roxanna for each one of those subject matters. Mm-hmm. But we would probably capture them all as our own people. We've gotten some of our, the irony is we actually have real people on the network too.
Right.
So Roxanna just does the news. Most of our channel is primarily talk show programming, and or documentary films or series about these various subjects. We're really aggregating a lot of premium programming there, but we also have really knowledgeable hosts that are delivering their, that are contributors that are delivering their daily shows to us, and they're hour-long shows where they're interviewing folks and or they're talking about the market and what's going on or their specific area of interest. And of course, nothing beats the real thing in terms of humans, but here's the irony, is some of them have seen the work that we're doing with Roxanna and are interested in becoming virtual humans themselves. So that kind of like, okay, you want to have a digital representation of yourself that then you've got your show, but then we can also create a news package or promos, for example, however we like to promote those shows. I mean, it really caters to this idea of, as we look at 2023, as I said, to double down, we plan on having more of these virtual humans on the channel, and some of them will probably be reflective of the actual humans that are doing shows on the channel as well. So it gets, meta, and then if we do stories like the Lensa AI story, it's meta, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's wonderful, Marc. I love seeing these technologies in practice, in production. There's a lot of demos that we see for AI solutions, synthetic media solutions, but you're actually using it every day as part of your standard workflow. So I really appreciate you sharing that with the audience.
Synthedia. Synthedia.substack.com. Synthetic media, virtual humans, voice clones, deepfakes, AI image and text generation news and more.